So I'm laying back there. I was watching some video on my phone, and I decided I was going to start to go back to sleep. So I'm laying up there, looking up the sky, and I see this ball of light, and then it moves out further, and I see these 3 tiny white lights all lined up together, like a ship, like a spaceship. And then it kept moving up and down. I was just staring at watching it move up and down. Then it moves side to side. It's moving all these different directions. And then this weirdest thing, it started making like shapes of things with the lights. First of all, I've never even heard of this before. Secondly, why me?
I'd like to welcome Jamie to Bigfoot Crossroads. Jamie reached out to me via email with a really interesting story that had some elements to it that I don't get a lot of chances to talk to witnesses about. So I was really excited to get him on. And Jamie, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Matt. So I guess I better start at the very beginning. Well, not the very, very beginning, because I've always had, interest in Sasquatch since I was, 10 years old. They had TV shows on, like Erie, Indiana, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Was the mid to early 90s. And so, I was really interested in that stuff. And I always kind of felt, because my dad's brother and his wife, they live out in a very rural area. When we would go out there, I always had this weird vibe. Like I almost felt like they were, I almost felt them watching me at that time. And I could feel they have a certain kind of a presence, I would say. Their presence to me, what I feel, it depends. Usually I would say intuitively what I feel is like about 80% of them are good and about the 20% of them are genuinely not right.
Yeah.
But, they give off this very loving, very compassionate vibe. But if like these people, they go in their territory, they just want to scare them out. And that's what happens. But anyway, like I said, I will start the beginning of my journey that came to my sighting. So I ended up on the street. This is a really weird thing that happened. So by the way, throughout my life, I had these weird spiritual experiences. But when I ended up being homeless in 2022, it was 2022. I got kicked out of this hotel because it was this badly run hotel, and they blamed me for something that I didn't do. And so I went back to around where my dad was living. I thought maybe I'd try and get back to stay with him. So I ended up staying the night behind a Walmart, and I slept back there. But anyway, before I even went to sleep, the weirdest thing happened. It was so weird. So I'm laying back there. I was watching some video on my phone, and I decided I was going to start to go back to sleep. So I'm laying up there, looking up the sky, and I see this ball of light. And then it moves out further, and I see these 3 tiny white lights all lined up together, like a ship, like a spaceship. And then it kept moving up and down, and it was moving. And then I was just staring at watching it move up and down. Then it moves side to side. It's moving all these different directions. And then this weirdest thing, it started making like shapes of things with the lights. And I'm like, first of all, I've never even heard of this before. Secondly, why me, right?
Yeah.
And from what I do remember about it was I remember seeing what they showed me was it appeared to be like a man ascending like stairs. And so, obviously it was a message about ascension. So, take that for what it's worth, I guess. But so, I don't know. I don't remember anything else that would happen that night other than so there was another ship. This is so crazy. It was like there was another ship watching it, right? There was a bigger ship watching the smaller ship. And this is like 30 yards away from me because it's the back behind the Walmart is about 100 yards, maybe 200 yards. So it's about 30 yards away from me. And I'm like, why? I guess it's just watching it. I don't know why, but so, and I was weird. Why is I can't remember. It was like moving very slowly towards me or very moving slowly. It was just moving slowly. Like I said, just watching. So I walked towards it because I was going to try and get closer to it. So at some point I go, you know what? I'm going to try to get closer to this one. And I got so close to it. There was literally like almost right above me, above the tree line, just maybe like a couple feet above the tree line. And I saw this massive thing. It was like 30 yards around. It had orange, yellow, and green lights on the bottom of it. And then it just kind of, moved away from me at that point. And I'm like, well, that's weird. What's also weird too is after that, almost every night I saw a ship. Like I said in the beginning, how I saw the one come out with the 3 little lights.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would look up in the sky, I would see a bunch of them above me. And I'd be like, again, like, why is this happening? But anyway, so I don't know if they fit together. They might. The sighting of the Bigfoot and the UFO. So after I saw the UFO, I ended up in the shelter again that I'd been in before. Then, March in 2024, I ended up back where I'm at now. So at first, when I got back here, first of all, I felt them around me. I could intuitively feel that, and I was hearing these weird whistling sounds. And I know I've heard that before too. That they do the whistling sounds. And I also, like I said, I felt them being around me. But even before I was there that time, I'd been back there before, like the year before, and I heard growling outside of the tent. And I didn't know it was them. I sort of kind of had a feeling maybe.
Yeah.
I knew they wouldn't hurt me. I definitely got the vibe of like, they're not going to hurt me. I'm okay. Right. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just go back to sleep, But by the way, I had all this junk around there. So I think they're probably pissed off that I littered their area, which I understand because there's a bunch of shit back here. But anyway, but then, like I said, I came back here in March of 2024 last year, I guess. And, I'm there for a while. I'm there for a few months. And then one night I'm looking out the back window and, before that, before I even started talking, I could feel them standing around the tent. And I felt a couple of them just standing around. And sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night, I either feel the tent shake or I'd like literally feel them rubbing my head. It was the weirdest thing. I would literally feel like a huge hand rub my head, right?
Like inside the tent, not like from the outside.
Well, yeah, right. Like a physical hand rubbing my head. And it's weird because I had sometime after that, I ended up listening to a show about a lady who had similar experiences. She was also, a reader, intuitive, whatever. And she intuitively communicates with these Sasquatch. She has them on her property, I guess. You might have heard of Robin Haynes McCrae.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but anyway, so they were doing all that stuff. And then I think they were trying to get me prepared for it, I guess. I don't know what it was, maybe. I don't know. But then one night, I remember, I swear I heard a smaller one running around on its knuckles on the, in the grass. And I didn't, it felt like it. Like intuitively, I got the vibe of like, this is not like normal. I was scared to look outside. And it was a little one, because little ones, I guess I've heard, they're more curious and sometimes they're sighted, sometimes more, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, what's really weird is then, like I was telling you before, I saw this little one climb the tree, but I looked out the back window. This, like I said, this is like, I think June. So I seen it standing there and I could see all the hair. It was about 3 feet tall. And since obviously I've never seen a Bigfoot before, a lot of people, they try to explain it away. I was like, well, maybe it's a raccoon. I've heard they can climb trees. I read that they can, whatever. And so, what it did was it shimmied up the tree. It got pretty high. Then it went smoothly, by the way, smoothly like an ape would, smoothly transitioned to the next tree. And then it really shook it hard. And I go, okay, a raccoon can't do that.
Yeah, that's no raccoon.
I was like, well, okay then, so I guess this is maybe because like I said before, Oh, I didn't explain to you how I ended up back here in the first place. So I'm sorry. And I've never done this before, by the way.
No,
So,
you're good, man. You're good. I'm just listening.
but so I had been in a different shelter before that, but I had different experiences with them. I heard them, but I didn't see anything. I actually saw what do you call it, tree structure kind of thing. It was a well, what happened was, okay, I'm sorry. I got to start from this. So I've been homeless for a while, man. I've been 4 years now.
You're good, bro.
I mean, so I was at the shelter, right? And then I kept feeling this feeling of like, get your tent, go live out in the woods, just do it. And I was like, really? And it kept nagging me. I go, okay, fine. So I did it. And in the middle of the night, I would hear like children laughing in the middle of the woods. And I'm like, this is weird. Because in the middle of the night, middle of the woods, I hear kids laughing. This is very strange. And I heard bear run by my tent too. A bear. I'm in Ohio too, Northeast Ohio, and there's not really bear around here. It might have been them imitating a bear. I don't know that. It's possible. But what happened was this weird thing happened was so where I was at, you could kind of get lost if you weren't careful. And so I ended up getting lost. But was weird when I was getting lost, I had this weird feeling like I'd went through like a portal or something. It was a very strange feeling. And but so I ended up in this area where I want to say it was like a kill spot or like a hunting spot because it was very, very muddy. And like I said, there was like this loopy, like it was like a sapling that someone had manipulated, bent over like a bow. And I felt like that was a place where they would get the deer and they would kill them. And because I kept feeling like I need to get out of here. I shouldn't be here. So I left, and I don't remember hearing them all that much around that time frame, but I think I was slowly getting introduced to them that way.
Yeah.
And like I said, I ended up back here where I'm at now, and then it's one of the first things that it was like a slow burn. Now I'm thinking about it because the first thing I heard, they would go, hoo, 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 like that, just like that. Like I know that's not an owl, obviously, you know?
And this is like right by your tent.
Yeah. Like maybe like 10 yards away from me. It wasn't that far at all. And then like I said, they would slowly start to come in closer. And they would make other noises. But then, see, because I went from here, then I went to another spot. But when I went to the other spot, I swear the little one that I had seen over here kind of went over there because it's only like, I think it's like a quarter mile away. And then he would come up by my tent. Like he was literally 6 feet. He went like this. He'd go, just like that. And it was weird because he'd do it right after I woke up, like literally a second after I woke up. I would literally I just opened my eyes and I heard it. I'm like, oh my God. Like that couldn't have been like a freaking raccoon or anything. Like that was
no.
And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, why are they must really trust me. I must be very, they must really like me or something, The other thing too is I did talk to them. And I feel like this is also important key for people to take away is that if you do feel you have squatch around you, talk to them, be firm yet gentle, just say to them, if they're having problems, they're making a lot of noise, you just be firm, say, you know what, I don't appreciate you doing this. This is my property. Can you please not do that? Obviously, and if that doesn't work, maybe you have some really not so nice squatches, maybe, but I talked to them. I told them because I remember I said all this shit back here. I actually did feel like they were a little upset with me about that. So I had to talk to them and try to smooth it over as best I can and let them know I'm a good person. I care about you guys. I actually am here. I would love to help you if I could. If I would, I could help you to help, because they're knocking down trees, people all over are knocking down trees. And I feel like that's probably why we're having more and more of these sightings. I think they're getting tired of, people doing this to their home. And And, it's like, man, like people, if they understood how gentle these creatures were, they would leave them alone. For one thing, they'd leave them alone. For another thing, they wouldn't do anything with the forest. They'd leave it alone. But I think because of all the stuff that their humans are doing, they're just like, they're tired of it. I saw a video where a Bigfoot knocked over this big tree, and it was obvious this was not AI. You could tell it wasn't AI. But anyway, like I said, it has to happen. I mean, eventually we have to evolve to a point where we're ready and okay with at least, and like I said, I feel like the way that I was introduced to them, it would be the same with society as a whole. It'd be very slow, and it might just be just the people that who like us that are open and ready for this kind of communication will have that, and but like I said with that thing, the like I said, the Sasquatch, it's funny because he must really like me. I kind of felt that too. He's a very rambunctious type of child, I guess. He's a lot of fun. It's very, he really is a ball. And then like he came over I moved the third time too, and then he even went over there too, and he was making the noise, the sound, and I'm like, but what's funny is like I had this recorder and I was playing it, and I thought maybe he did that to try to sound like the recorder.
Yeah,
I think that why he was doing it, because they're like behavioral. They're sort of it's how anything learns. They imitate something else, anyone or anything. But I was at this one shelter. Remember, I was telling you that I kept feeling that take my tent to go,
Yeah.
But what's weird about it is the day I decided to go, I coincidentally seen my dad's girlfriend at the Goodwill in that area, which is an area that was like 30 miles away from my dad. And I don't even think she knew I was even there. And, I didn't see her. I saw her, but I don't think she saw me.
Yeah.
But, we don't get along anyway. So, but anyway, but what's also weird is 20 minutes before I decided to leave, I saw a wolf in someone's car. A wolf.
What?
Yeah. No. Like a wolf they had a pet wolf in that passenger seat. I know it wasn't, but this is, like I said, man, this is my life. I see shit like this all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not even, it's just almost, it's like predictable now to me. It's almost normal.
And this is something that, like, I mean, you were intuitive whenever you were young, like a kid. It's something you've dealt with your whole life.
So much so that I would literally be able to communicate with people that have passed on. And I literally do that for a living. Well, it's not much of a living because I don't make that much money, but that's fine. That's just what I need to do right now. I'm healing quite a bit, I mean, you've never probably talked to a hermit before, but I'm a hermit. I mean, I've lived on my own in the woods for this many years now, and I don't talk to anyone ever. I always keep to myself. I basically just talk to my customers, and that's it, and then the spirits decide to visit me.
Yeah. But do you think the Bigfoot are on the same frequency as like the spirit world?
That's a really good question. I guess that's more of a logistic question, I guess. I feel like it's similar. I don't know that it's the same, but it's definitely similar.
Whenever you're like talking to the spirits or feeling the spirits around you, does it feel the same as whenever it's happening with a Bigfoot?
It's actually, I gotta say, it is pretty similar because I think your brain waves have to go to like an alpha state or it's theta or something like that. And then, so they're probably always there. So once you're there meeting them, you can kind of, and definitely I feel one right behind me right now again. I think because they know what's going on. They know what's going on. So let me see. I want to see if maybe they have any messages. Maybe there's something they want to. Okay, let me see if they want to say anything. We're not as bad as you think we are. We're not. You must understand that. Be aware of your own intentions. Be aware of your own intentions and be always intentful when you go out to the woods to communicate. Be very clear in your intention and have respect. Because if you don't have solid respect, then, anything can happen. They really appreciate people when they're respectful and if they honor the nature that they're in, and that's really important for them. They very much honor nature. Nature to them is everything. It really is everything. It's a way of life, and they're very compassionate creatures. They really are. They truly care about us, but they can't help us unless if we're not open enough for them to help us, And I'll tell you what, to be clearly very honest with you, I'm starting to remember being back here with them, and I felt so much love and compassion from them. It was incredible. I felt like I was being held sometimes at night. Like I literally felt they would hold me sometimes, and I'd be like, wow. And I felt there was a female around too, and she was just very motherly towards me, and it was really, really beautiful. And also too, this is really crazy. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I don't think I've ever heard of this, but they left handprints at the pavilion where I hang out at. There's this little park and there's a pavilion there, but it's like, okay, so there's like a roof or whatever. And then like on the inside, there's like also a flat roof, with all wood and everything. And they freaking pushed up on the paneling. I hear them laughing. They could push it up on the paneling. They literally, okay, so like in the front of it, the front part of it, it's pushed up where you can see like there's a gap in between the wood and everything. And then they did the same thing in the back of it. And in like almost like it lines up, with the same whatever. And then there's handprints there. There's fucking handprints. Like with the oily and shit. It's oil. Yeah, the oil, like the inside of the roof, right? So if you just stand in the pavilion, you look up, you can see them.
Huh.
And it's like, wow. And there's even like, someone pointed this out to me. I didn't even think of it, but one of them took their foot and pushed up. There's toe prints on there.
Wow. I'm wondering if the handprint thing is kind of almost like a signature of theirs, because I've heard about them leaving handprints like that other places.
Right. Yeah.
And like a lot of the things that you're saying about them are things that I've heard from other people who've experienced them in a similar way as you.
Yeah, they're all around us. A lot. I didn't think they'd even be in this area, but they're everywhere. I guess they really are everywhere. I was doubtful, but they are really everywhere. Oh, that's right. This is dude. This is insane. What I'm about to tell you is insane. All right. So I was sleeping in my tent, right? Like this is the third time I had moved. But anyway, so I'm laying there sleeping. It's the fall, I believe it was the fall. I'm laying there close right up to the tent wall. In the middle of the night, I feel this big finger tap on the middle of my forehead, right where my third eye is. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, it was a huge finger. I mean, it's like, there's no way that was human.
Do you think that they know that you have these abilities and that's why they've like reached out to you like that?
They absolutely know. They 100% know. Like I said, since I was a child, they've kind of been around me. I didn't know because, like I said, I didn't understand what I was feeling when I would be around them when I was little. I didn't, because we had a big wooded area around my school too, even, and I felt them around there too, and I didn't even know it. Actually, now that I'm remembering it, my very, very first sighting was right over there by my old school. I actually ended up, outside again.
Yeah.
I was in the tent and I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw the thing shadow through the tent wall or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? Like, and then just it disappeared. I'm like, geez. And I was not expecting it to, for one thing, be there because, well, there are deer around there. So, I mean, there's definitely deer. I mean, this is Ohio. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a hot spot for them too, I guess.
Lots of sightings in Ohio. It's something that I've honestly thought about before. someone in your situation, in these different, I want to say encampments or whatever, just homeless areas where people camp out in the woods. Like, I've always been curious if they have interactions with these things, if the Bigfoot come around them, because I think there's a lot of people that end up there because they might have a situation where they are intuitive or have abilities and, trying to deal with it and everything and living outside of society and everything. And I think Bigfoot have a way of picking up on people, just like you're saying they do, their intent and everything. And a lot of those people would be much more approachable than hunters or anybody else out in the woods.
I've heard they like the smell of weed too. I would say I agree with that, because when I used to smoke, when I would be back here, I swear they came around me more often than they normally would. I've heard of stories where people have left beer for them. And they drank the beer and they left the cans empty.
Huh. I wanted to ask you about the one that you saw climb the tree. Like, did you get a good look at it? Like, what was it, like daylight or nighttime? Or
good question. Yeah, it was nighttime. I basically saw the outline in the shadow of it.
Uh-huh.
It was about 30 yards away. I could see the hair on it. I could see I could see the hair at least. It was like a shadowy figure type of deal, right? Where you just kind of see the outline of it. But yeah, I did see that. And, like I said, being back here before, I had seen another shadow. I just remember earlier that we did see another shadow of one, but it was just a shadow. But again, I feel like it was like maybe like a snapshot of what I'd be seeing later on. Like they actually are super clever. They literally, it's almost like they're in your head and they know how to approach you sometimes if you're willing and ready. They'll do it very, very subtly so that you don't freak out, I think they just don't want you to freak out. They don't want to scare you. They don't want to scare. Well, sometimes they do. We know stories about that, but I never had any. I mean, like I said, though, other than the growling one, I didn't have any really. I don't know. I think maybe because I left them fruit, maybe that one tapped me on the head. Maybe wanted more fruit. Maybe that's why he tapped me on the head. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
I never heard of that before. I never heard of I think I did hear one story where I'm sure they do touch people. We just don't hear about it all the time. But I mean, I felt really blessed that squatch felt like tapping me on the forehead.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it was right on my third eye too. So maybe he kind of activated me in a certain way. I don't know.
Whenever you saw it go from tree to tree, was it just like, we see apes do on television, like arm over arm?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was. That's why. But yeah, but of course, when you're saying something like that, you still kind of like, you can't, you still are like, maybe I can explain this away somehow. This can't be what I'm saying. But then, I go, well, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say, just as an aside, that what they do, and I've heard stories about this and I can attest to this, they'll send animals to check you up. They'll like, I don't know, maybe sometimes, like I said before, maybe the animals help you adjust, because I had this really weird experience where there was a rabbit directly in front of my tent, and I unzipped the thing. Well, it had already been unzipped. Just the window was open, right?
Yeah.
So I looked down at it. It looked up at me and just stayed there. And I'm like, why isn't this thing moving? That's weird. So I think sometimes they send animals to check on you, to just investigate you. And, when they're around, sometimes you see random animals really randomly, like you wouldn't expect. And also, too, I've heard stories that they have an ability to even transform into animals, which, I mean, could happen, right?
Yeah. I mean, if they have the abilities we're talking about where they can get in your head, it's not a matter of even physically having to turn into another animal. They can just mentally project that they're turning into another animal.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, right?
I've heard stories of people seeing them, go back and forth into a deer and, turning back into a Bigfoot. And then there's also a lot of stories about them having animals with them during a sighting, especially coyotes for some reason.
Hmm. It's weird because I've always been obsessed with coyotes. I always thought like I could have a coyote for a pet one day. I'm trying to think if there's more. Let me just think for a second. If there's, and is there more messages they want to relay? Well, I mean, I generally feel their frustration with humans, but I mean that's a given. Um, but it's like they keep reiterating this thing about respect and being aware of your surroundings, and that this is their home. That's their home. You are in their home. See, it's funny because here in Ohio, at least in this area, everyone's obsessed with it's their property, my property, their property. Yeah, no, it's not your property, buddy. It's not. It's their property. They're letting you live there. And, actually, it's really weird, dude. This is really odd because this morning I was in McDonald's and this guy was talking to this lady and he was saying he heard weird sounds outside last night and he didn't know what it was. And I'm like, that is the weirdest thing I've heard because around here, you never hear stuff like that. People, ladies, oh God, I couldn't, I was scared. I went back inside. I'm like, made up and went outside there with a flashlight. No, I wouldn't have went outside with a flashlight. I would have maybe done something, but I wouldn't. Well, yeah, I would just here. I want to give some a little advice, and I'm giving some advice since I've had connections with these Bigfoots. Bigfoots. Okay, so if you really want to connect with them, first of all, be in their area. Don't like they hate when you try doing that. They don't like the whoops that much. They don't really like the tree knocks. If you want to attract them, just sit in nature, in a tent or whatever you got, or around a fire. Enjoy yourself. Just listen to music. They love music, by the way. In fact, I didn't mention that, but when I was listening to like Michael Jackson and stuff, they really were digging it. I could feel them. They were like bobbing to it, and they were really happy about it. They loved it, and like especially like song I listened to, like "Heal the World." They really love that song, And but it's like if you want to really connect with them, get yourself in a place where you're really open to anything that might happen, and make sure that you have an intent, a loving intention, and then that way you'll have more of a better experience too. I don't think there's really anything else you could really do. I mean, fire, I guess probably like fire too. But just and laughter. They like laughter. They like playing jokes. I mean, we all heard of that stuff. So yeah, that's it. Just if you want to connect with them, be kind, be loving. Also, too, like if you want to be like they like animals too. So if you like a dog with you, they might be more attracted to that because they like animals. But I don't know what to say other than that, but yeah, thank you so much, Matt. This has been awesome. Like I finally got to talk about especially the UFO stuff because that's crazy. Like every single night, if I look up in the sky, I literally do see them. I don't know if that's really good or really bad. I think it's really good because from what I remember, why else? Because okay, so let's just say, for instance, if this is the government that's watching you, they're not going to show you shapes in the sky like that. They're not going to do that. More than likely not. Unless they really want to get you, like unless they really think that I'm super psychic and they want to like capture me. But anyway, you talk to a hermit now. How do you feel? I'm just kidding.
No, it's good.
Yeah, oh, I love it. Yeah, thank you so much again, man. This has been really incredible. Thank you so much.
If you've had your own encounter with Bigfoot or something else you can't explain, and you'd like to share your story on Bigfoot Crossroads, send me an email at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. Check out the website, bigfootcrossroads.com. You can find links to social media, past episodes, merchandise, everything you need, all in one place. And until next time, remember, there's something in the woods.